and supply chain industries on subjects of vital importance to the sectors and the economy at large. Today, we are going to talk about a distinct approach to manufacturing that could potentially be a game changer at a time when global supply chains are in a state of flux to a degree not seen at least since the end of the Cold War. And the world is seeking viable ideas for manufacturing and supply chains that can provide certainty, efficiency, and sustainability. The approach that we talk about today is being championed by an Indian multinational enterprise whose founder and chairman we have the pleasure of hosting for today's talk. Before I get out of the way with my first question to our speaker, let me introduce to you quickly the work and the background of our guest and his enterprise, which a lot of you are familiar with. Mr. Aravind Maligari, the founder CEO of ACUS, is laser focused on creating long term value through innovative strategies. Arvind's differentiated approach to manufacturing has led India to increase in country value add and gain a competitive advantage in the global arena. Over the last decade, he has built a vertically integrated aerospace ecosystem that drives scale and efficiency through co-located capabilities delivering end-to-end value streams. This unique ecosystem was awarded the prestigious Global Airbus Innovation Award in 2016 and recognized as the first of its kind in the world. By leveraging its manufacturing ecosystems, ACUS reliably delivers supply chain efficiencies to its global customer base. The company currently engages over 5,000 people at manufacturing facilities located across India, France, and the United States. With Arvind's resolute leadership and strategic collaboration with global companies, his company has grown to be a preferred partner for global OEMs. Today, to add to the aerospace ecosystem that ACUS has built at Belagavi, Karnataka, the company is developing India's first 400-acre toy manufacturing ecosystem in Koppal, Karnataka, and India's first sector-specific consumer durable goods cluster in Hubli. It is Arvind's vision to transform India into a global manufacturing hub. Arvind, on behalf of our readers and viewers, a very warm welcome to you, to Makers and Minds. Now,
Th-
thank you so much for
Thank you, Anand.
thank you, Arvind. Now, my first question to you, Arvind, is about the title of today's talk, for which our readers and viewers have joined us, which is how is the concept, this idea of this ecosystem, how distinct and unique it is to the manufacturing and overall global supply chain space? And how does this add or contribute to your vision of making India a global manufacturing hub? Over to you, Arvind.
Okay, thank you. Good afternoon. The basically, if you, when we look at it, manufacturing an ecosystem is a natural, optimized, competitive, uh, efficient way of manufacturing. We know globally the manufacturing is driven by the quality, the schedule of delivery, and the cost. And ultimately, these manufacturing will go where it is most efficient. Obviously, it's subject to economical, geopolitical situations, but always manufacturer will end up, especially on the contract manufacturing side, where there is no IPs involved, it will go to a location where most efficient way to manufacture. So ecosystems is the best way to do when all the supply chain vertically integrated is based in a single location. And that is how it has happened globally in aerospace industry or other industries. And those ecosystems were naturally developed over decades in Wichita, Kansas, Toulouse, the France. These are, if anybody you ask in aerospace industry, they are natural ecosystems where you can completely build an aircraft. And obviously, India in a commercial aerospace industry has not been where it needs, where it has a nascent start, early 2000. and it's needed to grow fast. If you need to grow fast, you need to have an ecosystem. That is what we saw as a gap in the country, and we established a special economic zone in Belgavi to build an ecosystem. And when we started it, the in-country value was only about 20% on the machining side when we do machine products. And over a decade, I would say over a decade and a half, I would say, we have expanded this some of the products into 100% in-country value add. And when you increase the in-country value add, the stickiness and the value proposition, cost efficiencies are tremendously increases. And that will sustain the customer retention in a much longer period. And that is what has driven us all along. And aerospace, doing that in aerospace has helped us understand how it can be replicated into other verticals. And that's why we've gone and established 2 other verticals at that point in time.
Thanks so much, Aravind, for shedding light on the idea. Now, as, if you remember that popular saying that nothing can stop an idea whose time has come, see about this topic and about your contribution to the industry. One thing that comes to mind is your journey. You know, your journey coincides with the journey of Make in India. It coincides with the events of the last 2 decades, where India has come to occupy, and India has become more aspirational, ambitious about its space, about its position in the global supply chain industry. So we'd like you to elaborate a bit more on this from a global perspective and India's positioning as a global manufacturing hub. And I'll just add one little bit to it to share with you where I'm coming from a journalistic perspective. See, as you know, to give you an example of TSMC, it's a company based in a small country, which, having started the right time and having done the right thing, has acquired such a phenomenal dominant space in the semiconductor industry, which I find, to my mind, a little bit similar to what you're offering from India's side, to work with global OEMs, build a leadership position in contract manufacturing, and become a force that changes the shape of manufacturing in your sector. Please do tell me if I'm wrong in my assumption, but please tell your global perspective of this idea, how important this is to India's position in global manufacturing supply.
Yeah, I mean, you know, it's a kind of actually an apt example of TSMC being a contract manufacturer on the fabrication of a semiconductor, which is obviously a high tech, but still, end of the day, they don't have an IP of their own. They're a contract manufacturer. I'm pretty sure they have manufacturing IP, production IP, various other IPs, but not really a product IP. And as a contract manufacturer, we are in a very similar situation. And you know, is there opportunity for India or Aequs to be a global player? We are already a global player. Almost all our competition is global. When we're trying to win the projects and work with the customers and winning a customer, it's always global competition. And also the competition based on the verticals is Western or Eastern. We see that all the time. And especially in aerospace side, it has been a Western competition because that's where the industry was. And whereas when you get into the toys and consumer durables, it's most of the Eastern competition, what we see is happening. And this, you know, we started with a very simple thought process when I entered this industry. We were in services business and entered into manufacturing was, hey, India has been doing all these engineering services, IT services. Why can't we do manufacturing services? And I look at my job, my company, as more of a manufacturing service provider. And that's why we are very vertical agnostic. And I see when there is a customer value proposition, when there is a capability, when there is a various, we can address the vertical needs and we can build and leverage the India's capability, which is engineering and labor arbitrage. If we can bring this thing to the table and we can compete. And today, our cost structure on the labor side is 1/3 of China and half the Vietnam. Our engineering prowess is very high. very good. And if we can bring these two as a combination, and especially on the manufacturing and engineered products, we could be, nothing can stop us in the world as a country. But there are definitely, there are deterrents, there are challenges. We can get into it further as we discuss what stops us from being there. And it's a predominantly, it's an opportunity exists, and we have opportunity to leverage this to be a global player.
As you so rightly mentioned, Arvind, that these challenges that come in the way of us becoming, realizing our full potential as an economy need to be discussed. Before we get into that, there is something very fascinating. Another thing that is fascinating to me is your journey as an entrepreneur. And it coincides, as is true with all good stories, that the personal journeys coincide with the larger global journeys. Uh, for instance, as you said, you started in the service sector and then came to the manufacturing sector, and you brought in a lot of good ideas from the service sector into the manufacturing sector. In the same way that India is a global power, is a global force in services, and now it's time to do the same with manufacturing. Arvind, can you take us through the journey that you and I believe Mr. Ajit Prabhu started with you with services, and then your foray into manufacturing?
Yeah. Look, it was again a simple idea when we started Quest. Both of us were working in multinational companies, and we saw all the IT service guys are doing globally IT services. We felt that engineering is an opportunity where nobody was doing it back in '97, and my partner my partner's boss was willing to give the first project to get it done outside, and we started the company, and the company started, and we started executing, and we globally leveraged India's engineering prowess, and we had a capital, basically swiped our credit card and get going, and with some friends and family help, and we were able to get this going, and nothing has stopped. Today Quest Global has 17,000 engineers. My partner continues to drive this business, grow this business, and as went along, we went from power generation to aerospace industry, other verticals. As we did in aerospace, we said we are doing everything for our customers, all the way from design activities, fixture manufacturing, even cutting tool designs. All these things we are providing, and we said, hey, if you're providing all this, once we provided, they were going and giving it to somebody else to manufacture. We asked our customers, hey, listen, if you are doing all this thing, if you are to set up manufacturing, would you come to us? Absolutely, I said, you are pushing an open door. We would love to buy from India because we have offset requirements. Government of India had put an offset requirement with the purchase of Air India and Indian Airlines, and we are really desperate to, meet those requirements if you want to do. And we felt that it was a good opportunity to start. And obviously, our investors at that point didn't like that idea, but that is for another topic to discuss. But later we were able to focus and do manufacturing, and later we separated the manufacturing. Quest Manufacturing became ACUS later in 2014, rebranded, and ACUS today stands as a multi-vertical manufacturing service business in a sense, contract manufacturing, what is called in this industry, in this space. And in 2016 timeframe, even before Trump, even before COVID, the toys industry, a leader from Hasbro came, and Amit Chakravarti came to India, and he was looking at how do we really expand out of China and de-risk from China, and he saw our ecosystem in aerospace, and he asked us whether we could do something of that nature. I said, we are not sure whether we can compete with China at that point in time. And when we looked at the products and pricing, we saw that we could be cheaper than China because labor content of 20-25%. If we can address the other material costs and various other elements and ability to source the material and right cost, we should be able to offer 10 to 15% lower cost. And over a period of time, we have been able to that number keeps changing depending on how China pricing strategy is. Chinese have different pricing strategies depending on their supply and demand situation. And we are able to compete quite well on a global basis to meet the customer demands and deliver. And the journey has continued, and we saw this working for the toys industry. Then we expanded consumer durable industry. But by bringing the right partners, like aerospace, we built ecosystem by bringing in partners to quickly scale. We have a joint venture with Magellan Aerospace for surface treatment. We have a joint venture with Auburn Duval for the forging, and we had a joint venture with Saab Aerospace for assemblies, which we bought out later when they decided to exit the country, exit this business. And by doing this, we brought in global players to be partner and part of the ecosystem to able to deliver vertically integrated solution to the customers, which is today has a what used to happen in 5,000 kilometers could happen in 500 meters. And that journey continues to happen because we have so many things to do with respect to each of these verticals, so much of efficiencies to be continue to be brought in, scale to be done. And manufacturing, if you want to compete globally, you need to be able to scale fast because customer demands won't stop. When they come in, they want really be real solutions, and we need to be able to provide that. For that, you need to have ready infrastructure, ready labor force, trained labor force, and also ability to and organization ability to scale. And only when we have these combinations coming through, we'll be able to deliver the value to the customers. And we have Aequs been able to put these things in place in each of these verticals and able to provide that to customers in a instantaneous basis. And we can get the projects going within few months of completely new activity for the customers.
Great, Arvind. If we can focus a bit on the aerospace ecosystem that you built, the reason it is so exciting for me to hear is that here is a company that has established an ecosystem that requires so much precision. And correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe that Aequs Aerospace Ecosystem is India's first notified precision engineering SEZ in the country, which is a distinction in itself. Um, and this kind of a sector to establish it in India, where in other parts of the country, a lot of manufacturers, entrepreneurs are struggling with far less with sectors that require far less precision, such as cell phone manufacturing or consumer appliances. To set up this kind of an ecosystem, and I remember one aerospace sector expert, who spoke to us in one of these shows. He said that for one aircraft, the kind of instructions that are required to build one aircraft, if you print it, it will actually outweigh the weight of the aircraft itself. The instructions are down to such a minute detail. Now to build that ecosystem in India requires a lot of effort, requires a lot of vision. So Arvind, I need you to share the readers the kind of challenges and the kind of opportunities that you saw while building this ecosystem in India, and what is your message to the readers who come from different manufacturing sectors, and how to build similar ecosystems or similar best practices in other industries, Arvind?
Yeah. Look, the building an ecosystem we felt it was a necessity for a scale. Obviously, in India, acquiring a 250-acre land, 250, 300-acre land, and committing for that kind of a land and doing all this thing is very, 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 very expensive affair. And we also saw we couldn't do something of manufacturing in a long run in a city like Bangalore, and that's why we decided to do in the interiors of the hinterlands of Karnataka in Belgavi to set up this ecosystem, and able to build it. It's obviously there are a lot of people who were at that time say, are you crazy to do this in go and do, why don't you do it in Bangalore, why don't you go to Gujarat, why are you setting up a special economic zone, why can't you just go to existing one? We were very clear, I was very clear that this is not an overnight ROI kind of a situation. It's a 20-30 year horizon, investment horizon what I took. And and we have consistently focused and putting efforts towards that. And when I first made a statement that back in 2008-9 time frame, that we will do in country, our goal is to get 100% in country value add. It has taken literally 15 years or so to get to that goal. I mean, today, this year, we will be delivering wheels for aircraft with 100% in country value add. We'll be getting the material from the Hindalco, a partnership with Hindalco, Alumex, buy the material, aluminum material, and then forge in our joint venture with Aberdual at Squad, and then machine at Aegis and surface treat at our API and ship it to customers. And this level of vertical 100% in country value add, that has, that is something which is very rarely you can achieve in a single region. I would say in the world, especially in Asian side. It's Western side, absolutely it was there, but not in India, not in Asia, other parts of Asia. But it has been strategically, investment has happened. We have a 10,000 ton hydraulic press. That's the first in the country. We brought this press. It was designed and built by designed by our partner, built in China with the controllers coming out of Germany. It took us literally 2 years to get it up and running, and another 3 years to certify by the customers and start using the parts from that. And these are long-term investments. These cannot be just, anywhere. The return on the investment of this could be 10, 20 years sometimes. So unless you have a horizon like that, you cannot invest in the aerospace industry. And today, I can proudly say that every aircraft which is flying out there, any new aircraft which gets built has a part going out of Belgavi, one way or the other. And it's somewhere in the aircraft, we have a part coming up, some contribution happening there. And we are delivering 100% on time and 0 ppm to Airbus for last 30 plus months. And that's a testament by itself that our ability to deliver from India has capability to do it and globally meet the requirements, challenge anybody to meet the quality and productivity and also the cost basis. And that is what our goal was, and we believe we are there, we can do it, we can scale this further, and we are still a drop in a bucket on a global aerospace market perspective.
So, Arvind, just to quickly extend on this, what was the reason that prompted you to build a vertically integrated aerospace ecosystem, for which I believe your company was also awarded the prestigious Global Airbus Innovation Award, and recognized this ecosystem as the first of its kind in the world. Now, these are big, big words, and I'm very excited to know what makes this ecosystem so unique.
Yeah, I mean, look, if you really, I mean, the typically what happens in aerospace industry, the aluminum mills produce the aluminum somewhere in the world, and they are certified by the OEMs, and then they go into a machine, a supplier, which they cut and size it, and then go to the machine shops to machine and surface treatment somewhere else. And these parts could be traveling in a US basis. Our plants in US, these parts sometimes travel several thousand kilometers before they're finished and sent. I felt when we were doing these are all established ecosystems. Wichita could be a little bit less distance-wise, but we felt that if we could put all this stuff in a single zone with the right partners, will be a lot more efficient, much less carbon footprint to do this. And it's when we could do this because we're doing it from scratch, from a clean sheet of paper. It could have never been possible to do something like this in an existing ecosystem. It will be more complicated. And you don't really install a new forging press, every year or every month. It happens once in few years, and once in a decade, a lot of times. And because it costs $20 million to put something like that, a press like that, operate like that. So it is something when we put something, it becomes like an anchor bolt, and everything else around that can be built as an ecosystem. And that's what we have tried to do is build machining as a core competency and build everything else to increase the in-country value add. That is how it happened. We have done on the forging machining, and we always want to do on the casting machining, but it has not been an easy one to bring casting capability to India. And because Western partners, nobody is interested in coming to India because it's very difficult, it's very labor intensive, very tribal knowledge, and that is something which we lack in the country even today, in my view. Right casting, machining capability.
Fascinating. Fascinating. Now, from aerospace straight to toy manufacturing. Now, would you call was this a leap of faith or was this a natural progression?
It's see for me, as we did in services, anything I do has to have a customer commitment. First, there has to be a market or a customer who is willing to buy, who is willing to commit on our strategy. And jointly we can, we are willing to execute if somebody is willing to commit to a strategy. And in this case, Hasbro, committed to the strategy. They wanted to source $400 million from India. I said, okay, if we can commit to get to $100 million kind of a market opportunity, and we will be able to invest and set up something. So that was an anchor customer we signed up on, and based on that, and we were, our goal is to build this from scratch, and that's what we did. Initially, we did a pilot facility of 40,000 square feet, then we built 200,000 square feet, then we built 600,000 total capacity. Then now Intent built another 700,000 square feet infrastructure in copper toy cluster. Whole 400-acre zone has been established to do this. Again, here as a country, we have a polypropylene domestically manufactured and sold, and ABS is imported. And these are the core plastics which are used in this product. And then we have various other foam components, the various other spring components and other bought-out items, classy items, which can be bought. The stickers and various items are taken. Paints are still imported into the country. The basic paints, because certified toy certified industry certified paints are still not available. It's still area we're working on getting that undone. And with that, we are able to, most of the stuff is, I would say, in toys, we are close to 95 to 98% in-country value add when we use a polypropylene as a plastic material. Whereas ABS, if you use ABS, most probably you are at 70-80% because there is no real ABS source in India, to qualified ABS source in India. So that ecosystem continues. Today we have, just started last year. That ecosystem and also can support domestic requirements and export requirement. And the government has been proactively trying to support this industry. And we are in a discussion. Government is talking about potentially providing a PLI to the toy industry because this employs a lot of people. And this is the biggest strength of this industry is employment. Unskilled labor can be put into work within a 1 week or 2 week of training, and it's incredibly easy to move a person who's in an agricultural area into a woman, predominantly agriculture, into a manufacturing facility with a training within 2 weeks period. And this could be a significant job creator for the country. And this is something which we keep telling the government, and hey, this is important. And we are unemployment rates need to be improved. That it needs to have something of the industry of this or garment. That type of industry needs to be supported. And this we're asking to competitively, to be more competitive, and especially to deal with some of the disadvantage of cost of capital and some of the indirect subsidies and direct subsidies which are being provided by some of the competition on the eastern side. We felt that a production-linked incentive could be a way to do this, and that is something which we are discussing with the government to support that.
Well, even from where I sit, I think this is a very brave and courageous move, in the sense that by entering into the toy industry, you've taken on the might of China, which I believe is or 80, which is a dominant force as it is in anything to do with manufacturing, but especially in toy manufacturing, I believe more than 80% is China exports and produces more than 80% of the toy products in the world. Now, this is something where we need to learn from you as to how and why do you think you can make a space for toy manufacturing in the country uh, and compete globally. What are the main advantages? We just spoke about a few things where you can give opportunities to the skilled labor. These are the things that help other industries also. But to make a space and position for yourself in an industry which is already dominated by, it requires something more than what we already have. What is that X factor? What is that leverage that you have so much confidence in taking on these forces?
Look, there is India. I would say again two pieces which I say: engineering abilities and abundant labor with the labor arbitrage, the economic labor arbitrage, are two biggest reasons why we decided that it makes sense to do this, and long term it makes sense. And look, when a customers globally are blindly sourced over a period of time, 100% of their products into one geographic location, that they're bound to change that mindset. Question, I cannot dictate when it happens. When we entered this industry, we knew that it was going to happen, but we didn't know when it was going to happen. We didn't know that Trump will come, will become a president of US, and he will make some changes and put some actions. And that is driving of other various other things, and COVID and various other geopolitical situation, current geopolitical situation. We see customers are interested, very much interested in at least de-risking at least 15, 20, 25% of their product manufacturing out of China into other countries. And we believe we have a product platform. And if I were to, we felt that if I were to provide a similar platform, similar level of confidence, similar level of scales to our customer, there is no reason for them not to work with us. I mean, today, most of if you really look at it, domestic manufacturing units are fairly small, 10, 20,000 square feet facilities. Whereas when you go to look at Vietnam and China, the facilities are 500,000 square feet, million square feet. Today, we are being able to put a similar facilities, similar ecosystem, where the city could be ecosystem in China, but we are able to replicate a mini ecosystem in a 400-acre zone. And that is what the idea is. If we can provide that kind of a solution, customer has confidence that our ability to deliver on time, quality products at a competitive price, they are happy to de-risk any day. It's no different than what aerospace customer told us. We're pushing an open door. It's almost in the same situation. But look, as in aerospace, aerospace has hundreds and thousands of parts in an aircraft. There are hundreds of thousands of different toys exist. So capability is also different. So it is important to understand what our strength is and where we start building for a period of
Sorry, I was on mute. I say, ladies and gentlemen, I was saying that I believe the connection is lost. We'll soon have Arvind back with us. As you must have heard until now, and I'm getting a lot of questions also regarding the toy manufacturing industry. I guess I need to log off and log in again.